In SpriteKit, when you collide two items together, you have to use a specific function. So let's hop to the bottom here. Let's add a function called didBeginContact. Okay, and you'll see that there is kind of a local variable called contact, which we'll be using very shortly. So we're going to add in a let. We'll call this first body is equal to contact dot body A. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add in a second body. We'll make that equal to contact.body B. So between any two bodies, there's going to be a contact. That's what we're setting up here. There's either body 1 or body 2. Now, the way this works is that this did begin contact is as a result of that SK delegate that we set up in a different tutorial. So we have our did begin contact, and then what we're going to do is we're going to take the two contacts and then we're going to pass it into another function here. So we're going to say function, we're going to call this player enemy collision. In fact, let's do the enemy projectile collision. And what this is going to take in, it's going to take in contact A, and it's going to be of type SK sprite node, comma, contact B, SK sprite node. Right, and then we'll add our curly brackets here. So what this is going to do is that we're going to pass in the first body and the second body into this contact A and contact B. We're also going to use the name that we set up earlier to differentiate the two. So let's copy and paste this, but I'm going to say player. So we're going to call this player enemy collision. Okay. Again, contact A and contact B. And we'll go ahead and we'll add this in here. Now, there's going to be a very significant if statement coming up here. So we're going to say if, and we're going to say bracket. We're going to say first body dot category bitmask is double equal to physics category dot enemy. Then we're going to say and bracket second body dot category bitmask is double equal to physics category dot projectile. So what this is saying is that the first body is going to collide with the second body, and if that body is the enemy and the second body is the projectile. So if the enemy collides with the projectile here. Now I'm just going to move this down and I'm going to copy everything but the first bracket. So no first bracket here. Then I'm going to add an or statement. And the way that we need to do this here is we need to say, and I'll just kind of look it up here. And by the way, you can pause it after I'm finished this just to make sure you get everything right, because this is a very important step. We'll say dot projectile and switch projectile with enemy. So the way this works is that either the enemy is colliding with the projectile or the projectile is colliding with the enemy. It's one of those two things. And you need to do both because sometimes one collides with the other. Sometimes the enemy collides with the projectile, and sometimes the projectile collides with the enemy. And again, there's only two bodies of contact. All right. So within this if statement, we're going to say enemy projectile collision, and we're going to say that this is the first body dot node as SK sprite node. Tab over second body dot node as SK sprite node. Okay, so what this does here is that this is going to put in the first body, the second body into this function here, and that way we can do more work. Now, it is possible to put in more work within this if statement. However, passing it through a function is a little bit cleaner and a little bit easier to read. Right, so what I'm also going to do is I'm also going to copy and paste this if statement here, and all I'm going to do is switch the projectile with the enemy, projectile with the player. So now we have enemy versus the player and player as the enemy. Now I'm going to delete this here, and I'm going to say player enemy collision, contact A and contact B. So it's going to be the same thing, first body dot node as SK sprite node, and then second body dot node as SK sprite node. All right. Wow, that's a lot here. So one thing you can do is you can pause and you can take a look at this to see if it works for you. You want to make sure that this is all set up here. And I'm doing this on purpose because we're going to take a look at this function in the next tutorial.